Dragon Quest is one of the most important game franchises to arise out of Japan. It births the JRPG genre and consistently delivers high-quality games with unique worlds, heartwarming stories, and accessible gameplay. Throughout the series' history, it has had a trifecta of godlike creatives. Yuji Horii is the main designer and visionary, Akira Toriyama handles the iconic designs, and Koichi Sugiyama is the composer. However, this trifecta has now been thrown into disarray since the passing of both Sugiyama and Toriyama. What fate lies in store for the music and art of Dragon Quest? Koichi Sugiyama passed away on September 30th, 2021. He got his start by composing pop music, television shows, and advertisement jingles to much acclaim. He later started composing for Enix after writing a letter praising a shogi game they had developed. This eventually led to his involvement with Dragon Quest. Despite his fame, he garnered some infamy later in his career due to his outspoken political views. His views were radical and do not line up with the modern world's way of thinking. However, I shall separate the art from the artist and praise much of his work for the sake of having a cordial discussion about the future of Dragon Quest's music. Akira Toriyama, the legendary artist behind the mega hit Dragon Ball, passed away on March 1st, 2024. Millions will forever cherish his works, hopefully till the end of time. Toriyama was urged by his editor, Torishima, to draw character designs for an upcoming game that Weekly Shonen Jump would provide deep coverage of. This marketing stunt sought to provide the magazine with new readers who loved games along with the manga they peddled. What Torishima wanted was to create an in-depth chronicle of game development to show their reader base how the magic happened. Toriyama's role was to provide a strong connection between this upcoming game and the manga magazine. Toriyama agreed to help out on the project despite not really being into games. This would lead to the creation of the wondrous and charming art design of a little game that would come to be known as Dragon Quest. After the game was fully released, he too saw the magic and couldn't help but to partake in the fun. I'm sure Square Enix has had a game plan for years on what to do if some of their lead creatives pass. I have no clue what's in store as there hasn't been much concrete evidence of what will be done, and I haven't found any official statements or reports from Square Enix. If I were to guess, they probably have a replacement composer and artist lined up, and to show respect to their legacy, they'd probably credit them as the original creatives in order to keep showing the trifecta. As for Dragon Quest XII specifically, I'd wager a bet that Sugiyama had already done a chunk of composition before his passing. Final Fantasy XVI's composer, Masayoshi Soken, had composed a portion of the game's soundtrack and kept composing for Final Fantasy XIV while he battled cancer. I'm sure that we haven't seen the last of posthumous releases from Sugiyama. I'd also wager the same for Toriyama's contributions, as the 3D artists need his blueprint in order to capture the style just right. It's this mystery of what Square Enix will do that makes this such an interesting topic to start a conversation about. The release of Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince had revived this topic in my brain. Sugiyama is still listed as the main composer of the game despite having passed years before the game released. This begs a few questions. What will happen to Dragon Quest music? Will a new composer try to fill his shoes? Or could there be something else in store? There are a couple of composers that I'd like to highlight. These two have worked previously on many great games, including Dragon Quest. I've heard rumblings of Hayato Matsuo being the replacement for Sugiyama, but I found nothing that proved this to be the case. Hayato Matsuo would be a great choice though, I believe. He helped compose Final Fantasy XII, Ogre Battle, and even the 90s Dragon Quest Adventure of Dai anime. He's also done many arrangements for Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. That's a stacked portfolio. Listen to this excerpt from the old Adventure of Dai anime. I think it would make an excellent dungeon theme. Manami Matsumae is another great choice. She did the soundtrack for Dragon Quest Swords and has done many songs for the Mega Man games. Doing full compositions for a Dragon Quest game gives her a leg up in my opinion. Plus, her compositions borrow from many of Sugiyama's quirks while bringing her own flavor to the soundtrack. Take a quick listen. had to pick a replacement composer, I'd pick Yuzo Koshiro. He has a diverse knowledge of synthesized music, which would play well with Dragon Quest style. Plus, some of his work on the Etrian Odyssey games sounds extremely Dragon Questian to me. He's extremely talented and I love his work. Please check some of his stuff out on streaming services. But first, check out his work on Etrian Odyssey. This battle theme would make a killer Dragon Quest track as well. There are tons of great composers Square Enix has internally that could make some great soundtracks. Even the freelancers they hire could produce some great results. Imagine a Yoko Shimomura composed Dragon Quest. Akira Toriyama is a legend among legends. His shoes can probably never be filled. The charms of his drawings can be emulated, but they're always missing his distinct flair. Despite this, I do think there's some great options available. Toriyama has inspired countless artists, and he's left behind a protege. I believe as long as his replacement has the passion and imagination of Toriyama, that they'll create some amazing designs. First up, I'd like to call attention to Toyotaro, Toriyama's protege who works on the Dragon Ball Super manga. Toyotaro has worked closely with Toriyama for years on this manga. He's even provided original character designs that nestle themselves within the greater mythos of Dragon Ball. This is quite an accomplishment. It could be interesting to see Toyotaro channel his skills into creating fantasy designs. I think this would feel close to home. Speaking of other manga artists, the artist behind Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai manga would be an interesting pick as well. He captures the same imagination and wonder Toriyama's art does, while offering its own unique charms. Even beyond manga, many of the anime character designers could prove to be very cool choices. As amazing as Toriyama is, I'd be remiss in discrediting the art teams that bring his designs to life. Many Dragon Quest spin-offs and even games like Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle have amazing teams who recreate Toriyama's style quite adeptly. Just taking a look at many of the side characters, redesigns, and reimaginings found in side games gives me hope that having a strong art team would provide future entries a strong visual core that still emulates the classic style we love. I do still think we need a main artist to help create a cohesive vision. In fact, other game artists such as Mutsumi Inomata have been just as integral to Dragon Quest character designs. She's mostly known for her designs for the Tales of series, but she did one of the first illustrations of Sorrow from Dragon Quest IV for the novelization of the game. It's not exactly Toriyama's art style, but it's very interesting. At the end of the day, I believe that strong artists such as Inomata, paired with a just as strong art team, could handle creating the next charming main cast, along with the next generation of monsters with aplomb. Heck, they probably have done way more than they've been given credit for. I have deliberated and thought of two very evil ways that they can keep Koichi Sugiyama as the primary composer for the series. One of the main complaints of Dragon Quest XI's OST is that it reuses many old songs. This is also a problem within Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince. Dragon Quest has been very guilty of reusing past songs for many years now. I'd hate for this to become a tradition. Imagine not getting any new Dragon Quest music. My second evil thought is the possibility of using generative AI to make new songs in Sugiyama's style. The first thought already doesn't sound good. Not at all. But I can see the egregious reuse of music being an issue for at least a while. My second thought is a pure evil thought born of complete darkness. I can understand wanting to keep the style of the music and keeping the spirit of the late composer alive, but this would cost the series a lot of soul. Do I think this will be what they do? No, not at all. Although I won't lie, it is a concern. This concern is further exasperated by game companies dipping their toes more and more into AI content generation. I do think AI tools have their uses, but they require human input and an artist's touch to become something of worth. Even thinking about AI-generated Toriyama art sends chills down my spine. I believe that whoever is selected to fill the shoes of these iconic creatives will do an excellent job. This opportunity could help breathe new life into the series. The only thing is that I don't think that we'll see the true repercussions of losing Toriyama and Sugiyama until well after the release of Dragon Quest XII. Many aspects of their work would have already been done before the back half of development, if not outright done during pre or early production. All we can really do is trust in Square Enix. Hopefully, Dragon Quest continues to engage players in some of the best crafted RPGs of all time, while still respecting its roots.